locks of game week 3, Chris. I'll shoot it to you. What do you got?
Yeah, this feels a lot more like locks on a bagel. It's a bit slimy. It's sometimes you add too much. The texture of the cream cheese feels like a bit much. So we're still figuring it out.
Did you just get that on the spot? This feels like locks on a bagel.
My brain is a prison and a paradise. But I'm back again with another lock. But the team that I'm most interested in here is Tottenham, off to a rip-roaring start. Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, top of the table right now on 6 points. Tottenham look very good. They just are coming off a huge 2-0 win over Man City. I was like, I wish I could get. They're hosting Bournemouth, the Bournemouth side that has been a little bit disappointing to begin the season, but it's still nonetheless a tough side. A lot of roster kind of changed for them throughout the summer, and so maybe they're just trying to grow accustomed to that. But I like Tottenham here. Money line is minus 145, so I'm not going to throw that out there. But I will throw it in a little same game parlay. Tottenham money line plus over 2.5 goals is plus 115. If you're like Chris, 3 goals does seem like a lot, especially in a match that involves Tottenham. Or excuse me, Bournemouth, who can usually play a little more defensively. You could go the over 1.5. It's minus 115, so a little bit less of a payday, but easier to kind of get there with like a 2-0 win.
Yeah, I'd also be interested in Tottenham win and over 1.5 goals for Spurs. To where if it's a 2-0 kind of win, then you're safe there. So. I do like that. One of the bets I was looking at was Spurs over 1.5, 2.5 goals, but Spurs over 2.5 goals is kind of tough here. I went with goals in Bournemouth match last week against Wolverhampton. Didn't really work out the way I wanted to, more so due to Wolves there. But Bournemouth are a team that can, back-to-back clean sheets for this Thomas Frank squad. But Bournemouth from last season, they kind of score. They have the ability to score against anyone. That's kind of one thing that they've been able to do the last couple years. So if you throw that in with the success that Spurs have been having, then you can look at that. But Spurs, 10 days ago, that was before the Man City win, they were minus 110. Now they're at minus 145. So that just shows what the line movement has gone with, largely due to that Manchester City win.
Oh, I also want, can Antonio Semenyo, can he come back and score his third straight here as I threw an early season bet on his over goal number here. He's at 3 already. The number was 10 plus. So feeling good about that futures bet that I put in a couple weeks ago.
I'd say he could, but I probably wouldn't bet it.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet it either, but fingers crossed.
Semenyo off to a good start. Evan Nielsen, not so much. The game I'm talking about is the first match of the weekend. It is early Saturday morning. Chelsea are home against Fulham. They are minus 190 to win. Fulham are plus 500. This is when I was actually looking at maybe, like a Fulham plus 1.5 was something I considered, but the odds on that just weren't enough. They're minus 185, of course. I think this is going to be a difficult match for Chelsea. I think there's a little, we talked a lot about the overreaction aspect last week of, okay, we had one game, let's overreact to all these teams after just one game, which, kind of showed up in a lot of places. But Chelsea, fresh off a 5-1 win against what probably is the worst team in the league in West Ham. I don't think they should be minus 190. I think Chelsea should be like minus 150. But I'm actually just going under 2.5 goals. This is, as I said, I had trouble getting some locks here, but under 2.5 goals is plus 120. Tough to bet under on Chelsea given what they just did. But I think Fulham's defense, and their midfield with Lukic and Sander Berg in the midfield just running into people throughout the match. I think Fulham played Chelsea tight in both games last season. I think they have the defense. I think they're going to sit back a lot. And then you throw in the addition of Cole Palmer, probably not going to be playing in this game. I know they have Estevao in his place, who has done well, but still, no Cole Palmer, I think, will have an effect against a better team here. So Chelsea last season struggled a lot to score against lower blocks and that kind of thing. And also their defense is playing pretty well. So under 2.5 goals, plus 120. If you look at last season's matchups, both 2-1. 4 goals out of those 6 came after the 80th minute. I remember them being Fulham holding on to a lead, Chelsea holding on to a lead, then the opposing team just found the back of the net eventually after 80 minutes. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen in this one. So under 2.5 goals between Chelsea and Fulham, plus 120. Chris, I know you're going to be against this because you don't like betting on unders against Chelsea.
Well, no, I don't hate this. Just how the first 2 games with Fulham have transpired, like both 1-1 results, right? The 1-1 that they stole that point late against both teams, actually. But the Rodriguez, was it Munez who scored late against Brighton, like literal stoppage time, and then obviously last week against Man United looked okay. Fulham just classically playing like a pretty gritty brand, like it's not like wide open. They're just kind of like battling you in the midfield and trying to get it up top. And yeah, it's not. I think, and also we saw Anthony Robinson come back out at left back last week. Played 30 minutes. That should help shore things up and even maybe help them a little bit more in an attacking perspective. So I don't hate this. I just West Ham. I agree to the point that West Ham are one of the more poor teams in the league right now, and the 5-1 talks for itself. But yeah, the 1-1 is it's tough to bet, but I don't hate it.
If we were doing stupid parlays for locks, I would probably do Fulham plus 1.5 and Brighton plus 1.5 as a parlay for my best bet. But we're not doing stupid parlays like that for our locks.
For a lock would be such a baller move.
And then it'll lose because it's a dumb bet. But what kind of value you got on this slate? Are you going with the goal scorer this week, or you got something else?
I think I'm still deciding, but I wrote down a bunch of value that I thought was interesting throughout the week. There's a few here. We're going to touch on the Liverpool-Arsenal game later, so I'll save one of these value bets for that. But there's 3 that I kind of honed in on. The Burnley is playing Man United. What's going on at Man United is kind of what we've seen over the last few seasons, I guess. But
10 years.
Yeah, 8. It seems like 10 years seems like a long time, but it's not that far off. But otherwise, I'm actually looking at the RotoWire cheat sheet here on corners conceded so far. Wolves giving up 7 corners a game right now. They're facing Everton. I like the Everton's plus 190 on the corner match bet. So I assume that's on FanDuel. That's just to have more corners.
I can get behind a corner bet.
Plus 190, pretty good value. I like to get up over 200 usually, but I just like the way. Sounds like is Strand Larson going to play? Are they going to have any attacking output? Everton, for one, in a rare matchup, might see more of the ball and have a bit more attacking output. So I kind of like this Everton corner bet at plus 190.
I do worry about Everton on a short week. They just play in the Carabao Cup. Given how they looked against Leeds United, fresh off 2 home matches at their new stadium, I do have a little question on that. But they got back Michaelenko, so that's going to help them compared to starting Garner at left back in first couple matches. So that'll be a boost. But I don't think it's that difficult for an opposing team to have more corners than Wolverhampton. For my value bet, I'm going with my favorite team to bet, even though I'm terrible at betting them, is a Nottingham Forest match. And the main reason I'm looking at them is because they play West Ham, who, again, have been the worst team in the league. And Nottingham Forest are home. West Ham had another loss midweek. They had a win going against Wolverhampton and then lost. I think Wolves scored 2 goals in 3 minutes, in part due to Strand Larson. 2 goals in 3 minutes, lost that in the Carabao Cup. Jared Bowen not happy after that one. But Nottingham Forest, they were minus 105 10 days ago. So that was before Gameweek 2. Now they're minus 145. West Ham plus 400 to win. So my bet is going to be Nottingham Forest to win and Chris Wood to score at plus 215. Yes, no, plus 212, around that range there. So we're in the plus 200s here. We've just seen from West Ham their first couple matches. They lack organization. They're on every set piece. It seems like someone's open. Not great against Wolverhampton midweek. They allowed those goals. I think a couple were on set pieces against Chelsea last week. I think 2 were on set pieces against Sunderland the prior week because they did have a couple of center backs getting goals in that game. They've just been a mess. No organization. The team's not happy. Graham Potter in a world of pain here. I don't know what they're going to do in the transfer window here, but I don't think Nottingham Forest are a great side to bet on week to week. But at home, they're more sound team, more well organized. At least on the pitch. I don't know about managerial. I don't know if they're organized on that front, but just throw it together. Nottingham Forest win. Chris Wood to score, and that is plus 212 odds.
You just expected them to be better given that Potter was there all season. They come out and just kind of crap the bed to start the season. They're giving up six shots on goal a game. I mean, that's always going to lead to a lot of goals. So certainly a concern there. But yeah, another big week for Forest too. I think they've been tough. So I'm interested to see how this one turns out. An anytime goal scorer bet is always a little bit of there's a little added cheek to it. So we'll see how that goes. But I like the money line bet.
Yeah, plus 150 Wood to score, but just anytime goal scorer. And then I think it was plus 425 to be the first goal scorer, which I think is interesting as well.